And now joining us to talk more about the Ebola epidemic is Dr. Joel Salonicchio. He is co-founder and CEO of Magpie, a data collection and communication company. He's also a former epidemiologist with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Thank you. Welcome to our broadcast.
Thanks for having me.
The 21-day incubation period ends very soon, about 4 hours for many people. Should they still take any precautions beyond that end date?
Well, I think that anyone who's been on that list, if they develop a fever, is going to be going to the doctor real quick. But certainly we don't have any indication that past the 21 days we've had people becoming symptomatic.
The Ebola survivor, Dr. Kent Brantly, has donated the plasma in his blood to 3 other patients. In theory, can the antibodies there kickstart their immune responses, and could this be passed on into West Africa?
Well, I think those are 2 completely separate questions. Certainly in theory, we could use the antibodies that he has produced in his body to kind of give to people so that they don't have to produce antibodies themselves. The question is, of course, how much can we scale up Dr. Kent Brantly?
Okay.
And I'm assuming that he has a very finite quantity of blood in his body, and even were we to do the same thing with Ebola survivors in Africa, I think the major problem here, there are 2 really. One is we don't know whether it's effective. His blood has been given to several people now who recovered, but we don't know if that's why they recovered. There's a question as to whether we should go through that enormous effort of doing that when we're not quite sure whether it works. Although I think some would say, sure, we're down to our final straws, we might as well give it a try. But regardless of whether what we're trying to do is just treat patients with IV fluids and support, or we're trying to treat them with serum derived from Ebola survivors like Dr. Brantly, there's an enormous logistic element to this. Right. And remember that what's happening in West Africa and not happening here is because we have a health system that works, right, and the ability to deliver those logistics, and they don't. And so regardless of what the actual care is we're going to provide and whether it incorporates serum, we still have to provide also the entire logistic and support and backup to make that happen.
When you're talking about serum, you mean Ebola could, in essence, act as its own vaccine, possibly. How would you get it to those people?
Right. When I refer to serum, what I'm talking about is, for example, taking the blood from Dr. Brantly and removing certain components, including the red cells, and then injecting that into someone else, not injecting, and then transfusing that into someone else.
How far off is an idea like this? I mean, how long would it take to develop something like this, and how would technology play a role in it?
Well, this is actually what's behind. I mean, this is a concept that's behind, for example, the ZMapp medication that we've heard about, this treatment. Right? That's a system where they produce various antibodies to Ebola in mice and then process those in such a way as to make them safe to use in human beings. The problem is, as you may have heard, we're out of ZMapp.
Right.
And it takes a while. It takes a while to produce. And so again, right now we don't have any ZMapp. It would take a while to produce it either to produce ZMapp itself, which I think would be a good bet, and I know people are trying to do that. It would certainly take a while to put in place an effort to identify people like Dr. Brantly who've survived Ebola and use their blood to make similar serum to give to other Ebola patients. Again, keeping in mind, we don't know if it actually does anything, though we suspect it might, and we use similar treatments for other diseases. Again, in either case, we're talking about something that's going to take a long time to do, and we're talking about something that's going to require an enormous logistic effort to make it happen, no matter what it is.
Alrighty. Dr. Joel Salonicchio, thank you so much for your time, your insight.
Pleasure.